Fox Sports Eugene.
Portions of this show are recorded. Strap in and be prepared.
I'm just going to say go to lunch and tell the boss, I'm coming down with something. And then head out to the ballpark for happy hour.
Coming down with duck fever.
Or beaver fever.
Whichever one.
Interesting guests.
Kelly Graves, Mike Parker, Coach Mark Waskowski, Melissa Lombardi. Always happy to talk to the great Scopeldamus, Eric Scopel.
Sharp opinions.
This isn't last year. Version 8 is going to be different than version 7, which is different than version 6.
And some smiles.
Also, Dominic Hellman, 2 home runs this weekend.
Mayo.
Yeah, or Hellboy, either one.
The other one. We're going to see which one sticks. We're going to ask him.
Okay.
It's Danny Havel.
I had security on me, immediately. Give us your phone. You can't be filming him. What are you going to glean from filming people bowling right now?
Justin Grossweiner.
Okay, the 6 and 7-year-olds, I got them. I could beat them in a race.
Danny and Justin starts now on Fox Sports Eugene and Fox Sports Newport.
Hello, neighbors. Welcome. Hi, top the Delta Triad, the Crystal Palace, Fox Sports Eugene, Fox Sports Newport. Welcome into the fastest 60 minutes in sports, which is going to go a little bit longer today on a championship Monday. You've got us till 4 o'clock. It's the Danny and Justin radio program. Tune us in on the old Twitter and wherever you podcast or get your music. Whatever platform you're on, you can find us there. It's Odyssey or iHeart or Spotify, any of those. We're there. Amazon, Apple. Danny and Justin, search us on all the socials. Producer Blaze, freshly tanned from his weekend, his Easter weekend, is over there at the control board. Right over here to my right in the Bigfoot Beverages Studios is my tag team partner, Justin Grossweiner. Call him Baby J. What up, boy?
Well, thank you for inviting me over yesterday for Easter. Had a good time. Gave a couple of zingers to Abby. Hope she enjoyed that. I know you did.
Always.
Had some good ham. And some special potatoes made for me.
You're not a cheese guy.
I know. Except for pizza and some quesadillas.
Okay.
I know. I'm weird.
Well, you're not that weird.
I've only met 2 people in my entire life that share the same issue with cheese as me. So I'm unique at the very least.
Blaze, are you a cheese guy? Yes or no on cheese?
I'm a big cheese guy, but I'm pretty particular about what type of cheese I'm eating.
You're particular about the cheese
I don't
you're
like
eating?
the stinky cheese, but all the other cheeses I love.
Interesting. Okay. There's a lot to go over today, boys.
There is.
A lot.
It was a big weekend.
It was a huge sports weekend, and it's not over yet. The reason we're going till 4 o'clock is that we have Westwood One's coverage of the national championship between Michigan and UConn. Coming up, 4 o'clock coverage starts. I think it's 4:10 tip, 4:12 tip, whatever. You'll hear it on Fox Sports Eugene, Fox Sports Newport, courtesy of Westwood One. Kevin Kugler is going to be on the call. So we'll have that. We've got good, bad, and the ugly. We've got a lot of softball and baseball. There's more portal movement for Oregon women's basketball, Oregon men's basketball, as well, as I predicted. Devon Pryor is in the portal.
Really unfortunate. Honestly, yeah. We can get into that.
We will. And then with the women, again, I was not far off. In fact, I was right on it. Janiah Williams enters the portal to join Sarah Rambis, Elisa Mevius, and Sammy Wagner. We'll talk about the additions, though. We can talk about the subtractions, but there were some additions as well. We've discussed some of them. Of course, national championships have been crowned in women's basketball. We'll talk about that a bit because UCLA brings it home for the Big Ten. And Oregon State men's baseball, another sweep, another series sweep as they take care of Lamar. And then Jamarcus Shepard up at Oregon State has stated that they will actually have a somewhat of a game in their spring game. It's not going to be like a simulated practice where they're going to be racing all over the place. They're actually going to play some kind of game. We'll discuss that. Also, Austin Meek from The Athletic. He covers Michigan. He is in Ann Arbor. He's not in Indianapolis. He was assigned to a watch party. So we'll have him on to talk Michigan. Dusty May, who's staying in Ann Arbor as the head coach for at least the time being. And North Carolina, I think, just announced that they are finalizing their deal with their new head coach for basketball. So that job is off the board. And I'm not wearing them, but I got some nice new boots this weekend.
You did. You shared a nice photo for us.
And thank you to Matty Ice, Matt Hogan. It was his birthday, and he bought me boots. I don't know how that works. Blaze is looking down at my footwear right now. I got my duck kicks on. But I'll show you a picture during the break. My boots, man, they're styling.
We've had a surprising amount of footwear talk over the last couple of shows. Me and Mims on Friday, I think, started the show by talking about our attire is because of your boots.
Right. I think if I remember listening in, you guys were making a little bit of fun of my boots.
No, I don't think we were poking fun at the boots.
Okay, good. So I'm going to get sensitive if you were poking fun at my boots.
I've never seen you in boots.
Because you have never seen me ride a horse yet.
That's true. You can ride a horse?
Yes.
You're an equestrian?
Not well. I don't know if I'm an equestrian, but yes, I can ride. Because back in my day, in a previous life, back in Eastern Oregon, I was married to a cattle rancher's daughter. So
wow.
You had to work 365 days a year. You don't take any days off. You got to feed them, or you got to round them up, or you got to ride fence, or you got to move irrigation pipe, or you got to bale, or you got to combine. I could list it all off. Boy, man, I was a cowboy, pseudo-cowboy, for a couple of years there.
You know who I think would have a hard time riding a horse?
Mims.
Intern Blaze.
Well, he's got the long legs. Blaze, do you have any desire to ride a horse?
I've ridden a horse, but I haven't done it since I was probably 8 years old, and it makes me remember that having koi fish back home is way easier taking care of than taking care of a horse, because you feed the koi once every 3 days.
I was wondering where you were going with that, man. We took a left turn from horse to koi.
You have to feed the horse every day.
Wow.
And, luckily I have my mom with our dog, and she feeds him every day. So
interesting. All right. So, big weekend for the Jane in terms of attendance. I think it was over 6,000 for the Iowa series. It was awesome. Weather was great. It's 80 degrees today, boys.
It's really nice out. It finally feels a little bit like summer. I know it just is technically spring, but I think that the next couple days are going to be in the 70s, low 70s. We're going to get back down to the, real springy, April showers type of feel here, I think, later in the week. But it's been really nice, honestly.
So, Blaze, either you turn him down a little bit or you turn us up. Because I'm doing a little producing on the phone.
Gotcha.
That's fine. All right. So, you guys want to do good, bad, and ugly just right out of the gate?
Sure.
Let's just do that.
I'm ready.
This is what we do every Monday when we have a Monday show, is the good, the bad, and the ugly from the weekend. My good's pretty easy. It is the UCLA women's basketball program. And the Big Ten reigns supreme, which means now football championship from Indiana, women's basketball championship for UCLA, and now the men of Michigan are going to try and defend the honor of the Big Ten tonight against dreaded UConn and the Huskies. Another puppy matchup between Big Blue, the Wolverines, and the Huskies. Who would win a battle between a Wolverine and a Husky? We're going to find out tonight.
A Wolverine and a Husky. I think
are vicious creatures.
I think in real life, I think I'd take the Husky.
That's a tough.
That's a tough one, though.
That's all right. So that's my good. UCLA women's basketball.
Okay. So my good was local here at the Eugene Emeralds, who we got to talk to this guy on Friday, or actually it was on Thursday. And then on Friday, we used the audio. But Gavin Keelan had an epic weekend for the Eugene Emeralds.
Yeah.
It was a great weekend for them in general. They swept. But he had 2 home runs, including a walk-off home run in his first game as an Emerald, with an incredible bat flip, by the way. Had not hit a home run in low A for San Jose in his 10 games that he played last year. So those were his first 2 professional home runs. And then he had another great game on Saturday. Reached base 5 times, including 3 hits. So I don't know if he's going to be in Eugene very long, Danny, because this guy, first-round pick for last year for the Giants, he's really, really good.
So my bad for the weekend is University of Oregon baseball, unfortunately. They lose their first series in the Big Ten. In fact, we got to go back quite a little bit before we found the Ducks losing a Big Ten series at all. Back to early 2024? think that's when it.
They weren't in the Big
25.
Ten.
Well, I mean, early 25 then. It was been early 25 that they had lost one, so it had been over a year.
I can't even remember who it was, though, to be honest with you.
Neither do I. But local kid made good. Cooper Mullen basically was a one-man wrecking crew against Oregon pitching. He has a big game. Was it a walk-off hit in the first game? He had the walk-off hit in the last game.
I think it was the last game.
Last game he had the walk-off hit. First game he did the damage.
Game 1, though,
Yeah, so the Ducks dropped the series 2-1. That's my bad from the weekend. But the Ducks will get back on the horse, as it were, on Wednesday as they take on Portland.
Oh boy, that'll be a fun one. Well, definitely, I'll be interested to see how they handle that one. But I'm going to continue my Giants theme, good, bad, and ugly, for this weekend. And a guy that I've talked about before, and speaking of Gavin Keelan, his head coach in college was Tony Vitello, who is now the manager for the San Francisco Giants. And it's been kind of rough for the Giants. And I know I talked about this, I think it was last week after kind of a tough start for them against the Yankees, but it's only continued. He had his first ejection on Sunday against the New York Mets in their 5-2 loss. They are now 3-7. He was trying to give a correct answer to the umpire's explanation. And I do have to say, I do think Tony Vitello is a very entertaining guy.
Yeah.
If you've ever listened to an interview of him, he's got all these kind of quips. Like, there's a little Dan Lanning to him, I think, in terms of being that guy that sort of just comes across as, like, very, knows what he's talking about in some ways. But I'm not sure if it's going to work at the major league level. So far, it hasn't. He had his first ejection. It's getting a little bit out of control for the Giants. So, as I said, I'm keeping tabs on this one.
The Danny and Justin radio program live from the Bigfoot Beverages Studios, Fox Sports Eugene, Fox Sports Newport for a Monday. Austin Meek coming up next hour. We'll hear some audio from head coach Melissa Lombardi and a couple of players from the University of Oregon, Taryn Ho and Ayanna Shaw, as we talk about the sweep this weekend in the next segment by U of O softball. All right, let's finish it up. Ugly. Gino Auriemma, the UConn head coach, who on full display in television in living color was just kind of a jerk to Dawn Staley, South Carolina. And it was not a good look.
She did not take kindly to that.
No, and Dawn Staley's not going to back down from anybody. I mean, I think she's shown that fire in press conferences before. The thing I think was ugly about it was the backtracking that was going on after, when Coach Auriemma, he might have had good reasons in his mind why he was upset, but there were like 3 different stories that came out afterwards, and nobody was getting them straight, and that to me is just a bad look.
Absolutely, and there was something about a handshake where he was implying that she didn't shake his hand.
Right. He was being ignored.
Very clearly, she came over and shook his hand before the game, so yeah, that was very, very odd. And, I mean, that if you watch we can't play the video on Fox Sports Eugene or Fox Sports Newport, because the FCC wouldn't like it. So that's kind of hinting at how ugly that was. So my ugly for the weekend, I'm continuing with baseball. It's been a very baseball-themed good, bad, and ugly for me. Has been injuries for major leaguers over the weekend. And, of course, our Chicago Cubs, Cade Horton, suffered potentially an injury. They're going to find out more probably today. But it wasn't just him. Mookie Betts is going to be on the 10-day IL. Juan Soto, Mike Trout after getting hit by a
Big
Seattle
names.
Mariner.
Yeah.
Justin Verlander, who obviously is not quite as good anymore, but he's still a very, very good player. Sal Frelick. So we're talking about some really big names here. Of course, Major League Baseball season, it's a battle of attrition as much as anything. But it's really a shame to see these guys get injured, especially Mike Trout. That's the really one I want to focus on, because he was having a really nice start to the season, and a guy that his first probably 8 seasons looked like he was going to be potentially the greatest Major League Baseball player.
Injuries have devastated
ever.
her. Yeah.
Absolutely devastated the last 5 or 6 seasons, really since 2020. It's just been hard for him. So I really want to see him out on the field and playing good baseball, because he's only got a few more potentially elite years left. He's 34 years old. So I just want to see Mike Trout play baseball. Is that too much to ask?
No, it's not. It's not. You're fine. It's not. All right, there's our good, bad, and ugly for the weekend. Maybe you'll have your own list. You can discuss it at dinner time tonight. That's what we do on Mondays here, the good, bad, and the ugly. So, yeah, that whole thing with Gino just still is rubbing me the wrong way, because it became the story for the weekend, and it kind of overshadowed a little bit what UCLA. And by the way, UCLA worked over the Gamecocks like I haven't seen that happen to a Dawn Staley team in quite a while, and I follow women's basketball, and that was a good old take out behind the woodshed with the axe handle type thing.
Really,
that was
my ugly over the weekend should have been my predictions of the women's college basketball semifinal and final, because I literally got it completely wrong. I picked UConn and Texas.
Yeah,
and I think I picked Texas to win.
Oh wow,
and that did not happen.
and I think UCLA just showed how far out ahead they were from everybody else, because Texas took Oregon out behind the proverbial shed.
Right, they did
in that regional final, and then man, UCLA just did anybody come within 20 points of UCLA in the Final Four weekend? I don't think we've seen that kind of dominance out of one team in a Final Four for a long, long time.
It's definitely been that sort of dominance. Going back to the Gino Auriemma thing, I think what's really interesting about this with Dawn Staley is the fact that, again, we've talked about this before. If you look over the last 10 years of women's college basketball, which two programs have been in the Final Four basically every season?
South Carolina and UConn.
I have a feeling we're going to see next year probably a rematch in either the final or the semifinals of these two teams, and there's certainly going to be some conversations that'll be had about these moments next year, and I'm sure that the conversation will change over that period of time, but these are two programs that are going to be playing each other for a long time, and I think the thing about Gino that maybe rubs you the wrong way is it kind of comes across as a little bit front-running, right? Where he loses and then it's a problem.
Oh, well, absolutely. I think he was more horked off. And again, I wasn't on the sidelines and I didn't listen to all the audio and everything else, but I think he was more horked off that his team got embarrassed on national television in the national semifinal. And with all the tradition and the righteousness of the UConn program, which, God bless him, he has built that to levels that are probably not going to be matched by anyone soon. But you don't act that. Don't be a petulant child when you got taken out.
And did you see the previous season when they had I think it was before the game where they had an interaction?
There's a lot of history
he was
there.
Calling her over for a hug, and it seemed like she maybe
Awkward.
wasn't quite as into it as he was, and he was really for like 10 seconds beckoning her over. So very different, obviously. Remember, UConn beat them last year.
Yes.
So,
but that's my
different tenor now.
That is my point. Is that UConn won last year, and it's not about how gracious you are when you win. It's about how gracious 100%. You are when you lose.
There's also that kind of in the same vein. There's that great Michael Jordan quote about talking smack, which I can't use the words he actually used, but it's one thing to do it when you're winning. It's another thing to do it when you're tied or you're losing, right?
Yep.
And that's in a competitive good way, not in this way that Gino Auriemma is doing it, but the timing of when you talk and what the score is or what the end-up score was, it's everything in these sort of things.
And also I think there is... Listen, how many more years is Gino going to be patrolling the sidelines either? There's a changing of the guard.
72 years old.
There is starting to be a changing of the guard in women's college basketball at the top. And coaches like Dawn Staley and Casey Close and others, they're starting to make their marks building programs, and the old guard of the old, I'll just say it, the old white guy that's been coaching women's college basketball for forever. He still has relevance, obviously. He made another national semifinal. And I think some people would want to count him out in a second. But this is...
I wouldn't count out that team.
Never. Obviously, you didn't.
Yeah.
But the overreaching point to me is more about, are you going to be able to keep at that height of staying relevant? And when you have stuff like this, I guarantee you, there are parents of kids who are out there who still haven't made up their mind where they're going to go to school that are talented, that looked at that and go, that's a bad look. I don't want my kid going to coach, to play for that guy. That's,
Maybe.
Probably.
I mean, especially at that level. I mean, you're probably having recruits that are literally deciding between those two schools.
Right. I'm not saying there's going to be a mass exodus, but you lose one 5-star because mom and dad are like, no, that's not what, we don't buy it. That's enough.
That can be the difference.
Dismantling.
You know what I think they should do?
Yeah.
You know those YouTube celebrity boxing matches? I think I'd take Dawn Staley, though, is the thing.
Ooh, yeah.
Because she's 55.
Yeah, lower center of gravity. I think she's got probably a good right and a left. I think she was ambidextrous when she was, obviously playing. And, I think she could take Gino. For sure, in a cage match. All right, well, there you go. In the first segment, we've already got Gino and Dawn in a cage match. That's Justin's idea, by the way, not mine. The Danny and Justin radio program will take our first break. When we come back, we'll have some audio from Melissa Lombardi, head coach. She's very happy. Swept Iowa again, and still punching up a little bit, but still ranked in the top 20 in both of the coaches' polls and media polls. We'll hear from Taryn Ho. We'll hear from Ayanna Shaw. And also, we got to talk about the cycle history for Oregon women's softball this weekend with Elon Butler. So when we come back, all of that as we continue here on a Monday. 2 hours of the Danny and Justin radio program. You got us till 4 on Fox Sports Eugene, Fox Sports Newport. We'll talk Oregon State baseball in the last segment of the first hour. We'll have Austin Meek from The Athletic, who covers Michigan sports in the second hour as the Wolverines get ready to take on the Huskies for the national championship as the basketball season ends. Auburn, by the way, won the NIT. Nobody knows that. You didn't know that.
I did know that. I saw the headline earlier.
Okay, you saw. Okay, Blaze, did you know that Auburn won the NIT in men's basketball?
Yeah, but I'm also kind of a sicko when it comes to that sort of stuff for college basketball. So,
way to self-report. Love that. Defense shined for the Oregon Ducks as they complete the sweep against Iowa. They broke out the bats on Saturday. They were dominant in the circle on Friday. And then they flashed leather on Sunday. We'll talk about that in a moment. But before we get to that, because of their performances in Oregon's sweep of Iowa, Elon Butler and Taryn Ho have been named the Big Ten Player and Freshman of the Week. Butler, the first, I can't believe this, even though we did talk about this before it happened, became the first player in program history to hit for the cycle. She did that on Saturday. She also broke a Big Ten and school single-game record with 6 hits in that game. She was 6 for 6. She scored 4 runs on her own against the Hawkeyes. That also tied a program record. She hit for the weekend 538, had that double-triple, 2 home runs, 5 RBI, 1.333 slugging percentage, a 583 on-base percentage.
Well, you want to know the crazy thing?
Sure.
The 538 is it's great. It's also sort of within shouting distance of her pretty much average of what she's doing. She's batting .437 now. Her on-base percentage is .527.
That's crazy.
Over 50%. Anytime you're over 50%, I get amazed. Anytime in any diamond sport someone is getting on more than they are not getting on, that is incredible to me. It seems almost unsustainable, but hey, here we are. It's been 119 at-bats for her.
Yeah, there's enough of a sample size.
Exactly. And you got K-Dub right there, too. She's on base. Her on-base percentage is at .490.
Who had technically an inside-the-park home run. She had a triple, and then they threw it over and went into the dugout, and so they awarded her home, which was great. Oh, K-Dub. Taryn Ho, by the way, hit .556 for the weekend, .509, a triple, 5 RBI in the 3-game sweep. She singled and scored a run in the 10-1 win in the opener Saturday when the Ducks came from behind and hit, 12 sack flies or whatever. I'm exaggerating that. But they came from behind and beat Iowa 14-13 in 8 innings. They were down 7-4 in the third. And Ho came up, singled, scored in the 5th, drove in a run with a 3rd hit in the game in the 6th. RBI ground out in the 7th, brought the Ducks within 1. Stephanie Maake tied the game right after that. So, great weekends.
It was a really good weekend. I think one of the things that was important was the fact that this is a team that I think they hadn't quite put it all together yet for a series in the Big Ten. And they did pretty well against Penn State. Last weekend against Northwestern, though, had a bit of a hiccup in Game 1. They did have that awesome game against Indiana, of course, where they set the program record for runs. But 24. For Melissa Lombardi, it was important for her to have this team put it all together and get to another level this weekend.
And again, too, going into this weekend, we were talking about, it's time to take it up another level. Can we go to another gear as a team? And I think this series certainly shows that we did that. You looked at the first game, you look at the second and the third game. We won in all different ways, and they weren't easy ways to win. It was just watching them staying very calm and just, caught up in each other and competing, whether we were up or down. I think all weekend you could look and watch us play, and you wouldn't really know if you would probably think that we were ahead the entire time. So I like how they're going about things. I think they're really playing well with each other, calling each other up to the standard. And I don't know, something about your peer calls you up to the standard and good things happen. I thought Elon in the 1 was just really just a big time thing for us this weekend.
And it had me thinking, her comments, about what Melissa Lombardi's identity as a head coach is. And to me, it just made me think about all these teams over the years, the connecting factor between version 1 and version 2 and version 3. I think it's a lot of things she was talking about. The fact that the culture for this team has been so good over her entire tenure. It's just unbelievable what she's able to do.
Well, if you want to talk on the field, it would be defense. Okay, that's
Absolutely,
first.
and I was getting to that.
Okay, I know you will. The Danny and Justin radio program live on Fox Sports Eugene, Fox Sports Newport from the Bigfoot Beverages studios. It's Danny and it's Justin and it's Blaze over there doing the producing. So the other thing is that it comes up a lot in the football program as well, and I think it carries over into women's basketball. And I think if we can get to that culture in men's basketball or any of the other sports, and baseball as well, is that it's a selfless attitude. They care about each other. They truly do. They're competing for playing time and getting out there, but they are supportive of each other in the locker room, in the dugout, and on the field. And that selfless type of connection that you can't manufacture. Right. It is either there or it's not. You cannot force it. Seems to be another theme with Melissa Lombardi's teams.
I've got a really good analogy for this.
Okay.
Have you ever watched a show that you think is just incredible and you try to tell somebody about it and you're like, I know you've heard this before, but this one is, I'm telling you, this one's really, really good.
Yeah.
And it's the things that you hear from coaches all the time and the things you hear from players all the time is what we hear from Dan Lanning in the football program, but also the softball team. It just, at times, the things they say, for a lot of teams, it almost seems not genuine. But what we see,
manufactured.
Exactly. What we see on the field and the way they are in the dugout, the way they are and the way they handle themselves on the field, it's totally legit. It's not lip service. They are acting those things out. And so when they say it, like, there's actually credence to it.
They're talking the talk, they're walking the walk.
So, like you said, the defense has on the field been a big part of the identity, and it certainly was a big part of the identity for this weekend as well.
The defense was just my absolute highlight. I just thought the defense was tremendous. We talk about how defense wins championships, and we want to see all three cylinders, but just there's times where different cylinders have to take on more strain, and to see the defense get us out of a couple of big-time innings that could have possibly gone the other way was huge. And What's really cool is that we had a really great week of practice, and I truly believe that what you do in practice is going to show up in the games, and what we did in practice all week, it showed up all weekend long. So I just loved the relays and getting two runners caught up. The double play ball at third was huge. Taryn was excellent. Katie was excellent. K-Dub, I mean, I could just go on and on just to watch the defense take on the amount of strain that we needed them to take on was excellent.
And speaking of Taryn Ho and that double play at third, it was a huge part of this weekend. And Taryn Ho talks about the team defense and how this team is able to put everything together on the field.
For us, it's amazing because we're trying to help our pitchers. So for us to be able to do anything to help them and get off the field so we can go hit, that's our job. So we just know what we have to do and we get it done.
So one thing that I want to bring up in this piece, because Sunday is going to be an important day for the Ducks for the balance of the season, and especially because of who's in the circle. So Taylor Spencer came in and pitched 2 2/3 innings in relief of Lindsey Grine. Mm-hmm. And we've talked about, arm fatigue being an issue possibly last year, but that how Lindsey Grine needs to have some backup when it comes to pitching. And Taylor Spencer came in and through those 2 2/3 inning, gave up just one hit, struck out one, and she faced 8 batters. And, I mean, that's the kind of support that any of the starting pitchers is going to need.
Loved it. She retired 8 out of 9 batters, came in and just pounded the zone. And that's something, again, we talked about all week at practice, is just pounding the zone. She let her defense work behind her. I thought her look was completely different than Lindsay's look. And you could see they were trying to figure her out and just didn't have enough innings to do it.
And I just got to love her experience. I mean, she's somebody that you bring in and you feel confident that you know what you're going to get out of her. And I think it was interesting the way that she put it with the fact that they just couldn't figure out they didn't have enough time.
So what's interesting about this as well, with especially Taylor Spencer, and it probably is going to end up being with Maddie Milhorn, these are pitchers that if they were on another team, most other teams, they would probably be the number 1 or the number 2 at worst. And yet they accept the role of coming in relief, and then they will get an occasional start in a 4-game series or a doubleheader here and there, and accept that role and come in and fire when needed.
Well, but also you look at it like development wise, because Lindsay's a senior,
Lisa Kolsky.
Kolsky's a senior as well. So opportunity in the future, if they play their roles right, and they obviously stay at Oregon, to eventually be that number one, be that number two.
So Oregon now 29-9 overall, 10-2 in the Big Ten. And by the way, Lindsey Grind now 18-4 on the season. And the defense had her back for sure on Sunday.
So I want to get back to that double play at third and just the defense in general. So Taryn Ho, it was funny. I mean, she talked about it in the post game. These plays, the reason why they can get them and why they are able to do them in game is because they practice it.
In practice, we do live situations all the time, so rundowns always occurs during practice. So when it comes to game time, it's easy and it's just second nature. So it's nothing like special or nothing new that we have to do in the game. Just stay relaxed and do what we know how to do.
And I want to continue to focus on Taryn Ho here for a second because she has been a really nice addition to this team over the course of the season. Let's not forget, she did not start the early games for this team at shortstop. It was more of Addison Amaral, who, coming in from Notre Dame, at least I expected to be the starting shortstop every day. And Taryn, since she's come in, and now she has a lot fewer at-bats than a lot of the top players on this team who have been playing all season long, but in 72 at-bats, 375, and playing shortstop every single day, which I know for her, it's been a huge thing, and for a part of the team, it's been huge as well.
I mean, it's amazing. It's so fun. Just learning next to these amazing players with so much experience. All I can do is grow from playing next to them, so I just can't wait what the future holds for me, and I'm just going to have fun.
So can I describe that play in the fourth?
Yeah.
When there was one out, runner on first, top of the fourth, Hawkeyes hit a potential game-tying double as Harper digs it out in the left field corner. She then hits Ho, who's the cutoff, whose relay caused the lead runner to check up between third and home. Then, this is where the IQ comes in. Ho scrambles to cover third, where she tagged out the lead runner trying to get back to the base, and then tagged out the batter on the plate trying to stretch her double during the rundown. That's just you can't, again, you can try and teach that.
Yeah.
But in the moment when it's just like, oh, what am I going to do? She knew, she was calm and she knew what she needed to do.
But you also see, and UCLA, I don't remember who they were playing, did this great pickoff move this weekend. I think it was maybe against USC, but it was one of those.
Was it in baseball?
In baseball.
It was USC.
Yeah, and it's one of those plays where, of course, they're going to be able to do it if they practice it, and you can't teach that kind of stuff, but you still got to be able to get the reps in, right? And I think that's one thing that this team always does. They're clearly very practiced on defense. But can we get to the offense a little bit again?
Absolutely.
We got some more quotes
Sorry,
from Lombardi here.
I took us off.
It's all
tangent.
Right. So, of course, Elon Butler in Game 1 with the cycle, the first in Oregon history.
Right.
But Game 3, continuing the idea and the storyline of Oregon winning games in different ways, Elon Butler was 0 for 3, and Coach Lombardi talks about how it was great that it wasn't just Elon Butler, that there have others coming through for them whenever they need.
I mean, she's just exceptional at what she does at the plate, but just to always lean on her, I think is really difficult to do. We have to be able to lean on each other throughout the whole lineup. Somebody who I thought was just really, really good at the plate all weekend was K-Dub. K-Dub was constantly on base. She came up with big hits. She came up with big walks. She's a sophomore, and I would think she's a senior. You would not think she's a sophomore by the way she's playing. So just the growth that she's had from her freshman year to her sophomore year, it was really exciting to watch her perform.
So we love Kata, by the way, Kaylin Jones. She's one of our favorites.
Yes, we love the nickname too.
And I'll just also say that I don't know if there's a more enthusiastic kid that you're ever going to meet besides Elise Sokolsky, who's just a nut job as well, in a good way. When I say nut job, in a really good way. So I think as we're going to put a bow on this, is what I think the Oregon softball team demonstrated this weekend was something really important, which was they found 3 wildly different ways to win games, which is going to serve them well through the balance of the season. Because I know, Justin, you and I have talked about this quite a bit. It's like, when are the bats going to get going and everything else? Now we started to see the bats start to get going a little bit. And the defense has always been there. It's been a constant. But sometimes you don't get the opportunity to display that defensive IQ or acumen. They were able to do that this weekend. I mean, you can't find 3 more disparate games in terms of how they won each one of them. Wildly different.
100%. And you need that, especially for the NCAA tournament, once you get to the later part of the season, Big Ten tournament, where they're going to be playing these better teams. You're just not always going to be able to shut a team down. you're not going to be able to always let them or hold them to 2 or 3 runs. You're going to have games where you score 10, 13 runs. There's going to be games where you have to shut a team down because you know that you're not going to score very many runs and you're only going to be able to get a couple runs. And it does feel like this team has the pieces. They have the depth. They have the defense, which to me, a lot of really great teams, the defense gets them going.
Yep.
Offensively, pitching-wise, it's just momentum in their direction. So I also like how there's going to be a lot more games of the Jane. They've been gone a lot this year.
And that's going to bode well. So 29 wins on the precipice of 30 wins. Last year, it was a record-breaking 50-plus win season for Melissa Lombardi's squad. All right, we'll take our break. When we come back, we'll talk. Now we'll flip it over to the guys' side of things. We'll talk baseball. It was not that great for Oregon at Ann Arbor for Mark Waskowski's team. But the Beavers are steamrolling again. Look it up, kids. Tell me who the mascot is for Lamar when we come back on the Danny and Justin radio program. The Danny and Justin radio program. Getting a little funkalicious here on a Monday. Yeah, boy. I was at the Wow Hall this weekend with my daughter. And Blaze actually approves of the music. I gave him a little snippet of The Moss, who was there. He said, that could be a band I'd listen to, right? Would you listen to them while you were out sunning yourself as you did this weekend?
You know, it's more of an upbeat, probably type of vibe. And The Moss was kind of more of a little bit of a, mellow alternative.
They have a great stage performance, by the way.
Really?
Just 3 people in the band, and man, they were hopping all over the place. And they
how old were these guys?
They were all young enough to be my children. Thanks for bringing that
I'm
up.
not going to say anything.
You are both definitely young.
I'm definitely
children.
I'm your brother, though, right?
Yeah, your brother from another mother. So I'll just say, because you both eventually will get married and you'll have children of your own. And as a dad, if your 17-year-old daughter says, Dad, I just want a daddy-daughter night. Let's go out and have dinner and let's go to a show. Like go to music. Do not say no, because those things will be fleeting. And I literally was the oldest guy there by 20 years. Did not matter. Had a blast. I was rocking the fedora. I'll show you guys a picture.
Of course you are.
I was cool dad. I was cool dad.
Yeah,
I don't get to be cool dad that often. So I was cool dad. And you mentioned the Grateful Dead played the Wow Hall. I think I was probably mistaken by at least a couple of people being in the Grateful Dead. So let's talk a little baseball, boys. Where do you want to start? You want to start with the bad? Yeah, let's do it first. Number 15, Oregon struggled with runners in scoring position. Michigan took advantage of walking off the Ducks in the bottom of the ninth, 4-3, to wind up the series between Michigan and Oregon, where Michigan takes 2 out of 3. This was what was just, and it's happened now a couple of times, just a couple of times this season. But I don't want it to be a pattern. And by the way, we're going to talk to Waz later on this week, right? Thursday. We're going to have Waz on the show. Mark Waskowski, gunner. Oregon went 1 of 18 with runners in scoring positions, stranding 7 of those. The Ducks pitching staff retired 17 consecutive Wolverines before Michigan broke through with a 1-out hit in the ninth to beat the streak. And who was the hero again?
Cooper Mullins.
Cooper Mullins delivered the walk-off base hit to center field to score the winning runs, not runs. Oregon drops to 24-8 and now 8-4 in the Big Ten. Here's what hurts even more. Michigan is now just 16-14 and 5-7 in the Big Ten. They came into this weekend 3-6 in Big Ten play.
You want to know something worse?
That's an ouchie. Yeah.
So looking at the RPI, Michigan, what do you think they are?
94.
They're 40.
Now?
Now they're 40.
Because they beat Oregon.
You want to know where Oregon is?
26.
35.
Okay. I was a little closer there.
They were down or up to 25 or 26 after the UC Santa Barbara series. So it's not great. It doesn't mean you can't come back from it, but it certainly wasn't a great weekend. Michigan, I don't know what their RPI was before this, but they had struggled. They'd beaten the Beavers once before the season, but that was early on, and they have struggled this year. So I think the biggest thing that's concerning is the bats. like you're saying. They
disappear at times.
They've got a couple games like that here and there where the bats don't come through. But I think overall, and I said this in our tweet, I think there's room for optimism here.
So here's the thing, is that I just said they had 9 hits, so it's not like the bats were quiet, but they weren't stringing hits together.
Right.
So in other words, you get a guy and you had 7 runners in scoring position, you strand all of them. And you lose a game by 1, those are the things. It's kind of like when you lose a basketball game by 3 points and you shoot 13 of 25 at the free throw line. It's like, how many points did you just give up that you have nobody guarding you?
But I think that it's almost like a basketball game where you're getting a lot of open threes and you're just not getting them in. Like, you're getting a lot of good shots, but you're just not hitting. And I think that was one of those games. You had 13 runners left on base. Michigan had 5, but obviously they didn't have runners left on base because they were knocking them in, and not that they had a ton more runs than Oregon or anything like that. But in terms of just hitting this game, it was pretty comparable, except for Oregon, like you said, they just were leaving runners on base. So I think it's something that definitely needs to be cleaned up going forward, but I'm not overall worried.
No.
Like, I can't sit there and say that, the sky's falling.
So let's give you some positives. Jax Jimenez extended his reach base streak to 22. He drew a walk in the first inning of the Saturday getaway day. And I'll talk about the schedule here in a minute as well, because I don't think that favored the Ducks at all. By the way, that's 1 short of Oregon's longest streak of the year. Ryan Cooney extended his hitting streak to 8 games. He also had his 15th multi-hit game of the year and 32nd of his career. And then on the bad side, Oregon's series loss snapped a streak of 13 straight series wins. That's what I wanted to get to. 13 straight series wins, reaching to last year. Ducks are headed to Portland on Wednesday before hosting Nebraska in a 3-game Big Ten Conference Series starting on Friday. And this Waz will not make excuses for his team, I guarantee you. But the Big Ten messing with Oregon's schedule did not help the Ducks, especially in the first game. You played a Tuesday game at home, and then you got to get on a plane Wednesday, and then you're playing Thursday around midday in Ann Arbor, and then they move up the start time again on Saturday from a 9 a.m. start to an 8 a.m. start.
What was it originally, 10?
Normally those games are when they announced the schedule, it was always at 9.
I thought that they had moved it, and then they moved it again.
No,
I thought they moved it twice.
They moved everything up. That was the first move. And they had announced when the games were,
okay. That's fair.
And then they moved it again when they started the series. So, again, Waz will never make excuses for I'm allowed to do that, but Waz won't. But that was kind of, I think there would have been people screaming and yelling back in Ann Arbor if that would have been the reverse. And we would have been doing that out here.
Especially if, you lose 10-0 first game. Where that was a rough one. I mean, that one was one where they just got down early and they had no life, and it felt like one of those games that just was like, all right.
The bats felt like they had cement in them.
Yeah. So that one wasn't good. But then they bounced back, and then they kind of same time though, Danny. This one is a one they could have easily won. And how different do we think?
That's what I'm saying.
One pitch is different, and they win this one 3-2 instead of lose it 4-3.
One base hit would have made the difference in the game.
All of a sudden, we're talking about
hits.
okay, good bounce back for Oregon after losing that first. It's just baseball is one of those sports. It's so hard to determine how you're feeling about a team based on one game, and that's what if we basically are down on this team. That's based on the most recent game, and that's not fair to this team.
So Oregon, with the pesky Pilots awaiting on Wednesday.
They are. I'm telling you.
They are.
This is a big matchup. You want to win the state of Oregon.
So let's look up the RPI while I lead into this next story.
For the Pilots?
Yeah, for the Pilots, because Pilots have beaten the Beavers as well this year. Pilots own the state of Oregon.
I'll tell you this. Yeah. It's lower than Michigan.
That's crazy to me. That's probably, it's the WCC, right?
It is the WCC. They're 19-10, and they are 74.
See, so that's not going to help Oregon's RPI that much, although it will be a road game, and that weight's a little bit better.
This is where it's not about the RPI this game. This is
just about
revenge.
Getting a win.
Exactly.
Revenge. That's great. The Danny Adjusted Radio program as we wind through our baseball and head down to Texas in Beaumont, where you got to say it like that. It's a law. Easton Talt sets a career high with 4 hits. Tyler Inge ties his with 3. 9th-ranked Oregon State, who climbed a couple more slots as well, I believe. Oh, by the way, Oregon is now ranked 21st. When I read the story when it said 15th, that was after the week or before the weekend was over with, and the new rankings came out. Oregon's 21 in baseball, D1 baseball. Oregon State walked away Lamar 10-3 on Saturday, giving the Beavs another 3-game sweep. Josh Proctor also drove in 2 with a one-out double in the third as Engine Talt combined for 7 as they drove in 4 runs in between them. Oregon State is now 24-6 on the year, 17-5 away from home this season. Do that quick math. They have played 22 games out of the 30 away from Goss Stadium, and they're 24-6. They're 11-1 in true road games.
Yeah, that's what I think is interesting, is that the neutral site percentage is like a 600 winning percentage, but they've only lost 1 home game. They've only lost 1 away game. It's kind of interesting.
Lamar drops to 17-15, 10-5 in the Southland. What is Lamar's? I gave you guys homework
Not
before
the
the break.
Odoms.
That they are not the Lamar Odoms.
Don't
look it up now.
I already looked it up.
They're a bird, right?
Yes, sir. Most people would say Bears because they're thinking of Baylor.
I know they're a bird because I have it like visualized, but I don't know what they are.
Baby J, lay it
Their
on us.
mascot name reminds me of a great line from, what is it, Step Brothers?
Okay.
No, Talladega Nights.
Talladega Nights.
Because their official mascot is Big Red. I can't say the line, by the way.
That's in the outtakes.
It is.
At the end of it. It's the Cardinal, by the way.
I thought it says Big Red here.
It does say Big Red, but that's what they go by. That's the Cardinal. Go look at their website. So it's the Lamar
So they're
Cardinals.
the Lamar Cardinals?
Yes. There you go. We like to try and entertain and inform here on the Danny and Justin radio program. By the way, next hour, a late edition, as we're going to have Austin Meek talk national championship for the men. He covers Michigan for the Athletic, does it very well. Used to live here, covered the Ducks for years, and he covered Kansas State as well. When he's back in the state of Kansas, he and I crossed paths first there. So I've actually known somebody longer than Goose has.
It's incredible.
That's probably the only one, or one of the few ones. But we are going to announce the winner. All you folks had gotten on the air and, well, not on the air with us, gotten on the air in terms of gotten on the website, and you won the trip for the Masters, right? I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
So that's
Exactly
going to be this
what it is.
weekend. And so we're going to announce that next hour. We're going to announce who the winner was in the Coquel Casino and Resort Masters contest. You get a nice suite down there in Coos Bay, and you get to watch the Masters, the final round of Masters. So we don't have that music, though. That would be nice if we had the little piano thing that they do.
I think we can make that happen potentially.
Can we? For next hour? That'd be great.
Yeah,
if
we
I
can try
announce
to
it,
see
could
if
we
we can
have
make it
it?
happen.
And I could do my Jim Nance. Hello, friends. I could do that voice.
We'll do some on-the-fly producing.
All right, by the way, Beavs are, getting back to baseball, Beavs are continuing their 5-game road trip. They're in Washington tonight. They're in Pullman. So they get from Texas and go all the way up to the Palouse. 4:05 first pitch for, it looks like it's a two set. Yeah, so just 2 up in Pullman against Washington State, Oregon State on the road before they come back home for a couple of games. So Road Warriors, as Oregon State is now 24-6 overall.
And their RPI is at 6. So that's pretty good. It's impressive.
Well, they're fighting for, again, this is where Mitch Canham's mad genius stuff goes on, where it's like, okay, we're going to schedule as many good teams as we can. And again, I'll just tell you, the weighted road wins help with your RBI. I know you don't understand, neither do I, all of the metrics that go into that, but it does help when you play teams with winning records and you beat them at their place.
Well, that's what you have to do, though, too, if you're Oregon State. And it's something that it seems like it's more realistic to do for them in baseball than any other sport, which is to sort of play the RPI game and know how to schedule, and they can find themselves where they're going to host a regional maybe.
It's going to be more difficult for Mitch Canham next year.
In the new Pac-12?
New Pac-12. It's not going to be a powerhouse murderer's row. No.
I thought they had some decent programs.
Ask me where Boise State is in terms of baseball.
Oh, I don't know about Boise State.
Yeah, so start looking at Boise State,
they're
Fresno
not in the
State.
RPI.
Okay. Your Honor, I rest my case. So, but you can make up for some of it by non-conference and schedule a strong non-conference. And they do that when they go down to Texas. Every time they go down to Texas. And Texas State, I think, is pretty good. So I'll give them their due. Next hour, Austin Meek. We'll talk a lot of basketball next hour. You want to talk a little bit more baseball. We'll save that to the end.
We'll figure it out, yeah.
Yeah. And when we return, here on the Danny and Justin radio program, one more, the bonus hour overtime, next on Fox Sports Eugene, Fox Sports Newport. Danny and Justin radio program live from the Bigfoot Beverages studios, Fox Sports Eugene, Fox Sports Newport. Yes, another hour of the Danny and Justin radio program. I am not Cavino, and he's not Rich.
It's not rich yet.
Oh, I didn't want to touch a nerve, but I am Doc. Right over there is my tag team partner, Baby J, and sitting in the producer's chair, it's Blaze. Just Blaze, that's what we call him. Also this hour,
I'm just Blaze.
we should have a song, maybe like
Yeah,
that.
it's like from the Barbie movie. Just Ken. Have you seen the Barbie movie? You have a 17-year-old daughter, and you haven't seen the Barbie movie?
Okay, just hold on a second. Hold your horse. Would you let me answer the
didn't know you
question
answered,
first?
you're
You
right.
jumped right in there. I watched it on a plane.
Okay.
I did not watch it with my daughter went and watched it in the theaters herself with one of her friends. I did not go to that, but I did watch it on a plane.
I'm surprised that wasn't one of those, Dad, you got to come you got to come see this with me.
No.
Listen, I really enjoyed it. I know that's maybe a little bit of a hot take, but I thought that was a good movie.
Okay, Blaze, you got to weigh in on this.
Did you watch Oppenheimer with it as well? For Barbenheimer?
I did not watch them back to back like that, but I did see them both in theaters, and it was relatively the same time. Did you get to see get the whole Barbenheimer
No,
experience?
I didn't do Barbenheimer either, but
We need more of that.
I know. I think there's another one. There's Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey's coming
Right.
out.
Yes,
and
that
then-
looks really good.
Well,
What's
the
the other
problem
film?
is what they're doing. That's coming out the same day.
Yeah,
I don't
same
remember.
day.
The
There's
problem is I
something
think they're
else, though.
forcing it though.
Yeah.
I think they're kind of trying. They realized that was a thing, and I know what you're talking about. There's another really big movie. I want to say, is it Dune? Maybe.
Yes,
The
you're
third-
right. It
the
is
third
Dune.
installment of Dune.
That's what it is.
And so, is
Okay.
there some sort of I think the thing with Barbenheimer. I'm sorry, we're getting totally off track. The thing about those two movies was that they were so different, and yet, for some reason, everybody wanted to see both of those movies. You know.
I'm not okay. I'm not.
You're not in on this conversation.
No, I mean, listen, I loved Oppenheimer. I think some people trashed it. I thought there were some incredible
Some people trashed
performances.
it.
Yes, some people trashed
Who
it. They said
trashed it?
Well, I don't know specific. Oh, well, look it up on social media. There's always going to
That's
be
true.
a faction of people, no matter what the art is. It's going to be
people
it
want
was
an action movie."
overblown. It could have been cut by another half hour. You know what?
It was long.
So what? So what? I mean, Robert Downey Jr. What I love about Christopher Nolan, and this has been pretty consistent throughout a lot of the films that he's already done, is that he will take an actor and put them in a quote-unquote minor role, and that actor or actress will absolutely steal the movie. And I thought Robert Downey Jr. did a masterful job.
Yeah.
And, of course, Cillian Murphy was incredible as well. I mean, that entire cast, Emily Blunt, I mean...
Look at you, just off the top of your head.
Yeah, I liked the movie.
It was a great movie, and he's my favorite director for a reason. So maybe there'll be a Oppenheimer-like story for Oregon women's basketball.
We can hope so. Are we going to talk basketball first? Is that what you want to do?
We were already talking basketball.
Okay.
So
I you know what? I actually lost my place.
I know, we got so off track there.
Not we. It was you who kind of drug us. You were like a Wolverine dragging us down into the den is what you were doing. All right, so are we going to talk women's basketball then?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that then. So Kelly Graves has now 4 players, and I think almost every one of them expected into the portal. I know at least 2 of them, from my estimation, were. And Sarah Rambis is the closest thing you had to a somewhat starter, and she got pushed into more service because of some of the injuries that Kelly Graves' squad endured this season. But that was one of the taller two-way type players. I think she wanted more of a role, possibly, or this could have been a financial thing. Don't know. But she's in the portal. Janiah Williams, I was expecting. I called that shot here that she was going to be in the portal, and she declared today, at least Mevius, which was an Oregon decision. Sammy Wagner, who again injured, didn't see the floor that much. A good player. I think there's going to be guard heavy for Oregon next year already. So I think some of these players were looking at the numbers and going, I don't know if I'll see the floor again. So that they're making a business decision as well. We wish them well. But on the positive side, you got KK Holman, who has announced she was decommitting at Florida, coming to Oregon. Brooklyn Haywood. Then it's go ahead.
You can try to pronounce it.
I said Krastivsky.
There you go. That's pretty good.
That's
I think
phonetically. That's what they say on the.
You're the
whole
Eastern
thing.
European here.
Yeah. So that's I didn't write her name down, her first name.
Phonetically.
No.
Oh, Amelia.
Amelia. So I was doing it in a Sharpie, and I sometimes can't read my own handwriting. So I think Kelly Graves, now the portal opens up tomorrow. What are you smirking at over there, Blaze?
He'll call you out on it. You got to be careful.
Yeah,
he'll be live on the air.
This is a...
Yeah, it's just better to go with Amelia sometimes if you don't have the phonetically spelled name.
Well, no, but I couldn't read my own handwriting. Can you tell me what that says there? No,
I
you
feel
can't.
like she's one of those players that needs like Big K or something like that as a nickname.
Could. We could. I'm sure we could probably pull that off.
We just need you to type it out instead.
I was doing this. Yeah,
here.
I was doing it. I shouldn't have used the Sharpie. I made a bad call on that one. But getting back to the players at hand, I think Kelly Graves goes after. Now, you graduated Mia Jacobs. You graduated Mina Muhammad. I think you got to go after at least one or two bigs. I think your guards, your 3 and 4, are probably fairly solid. You might want to find a swing player, a two-way player between the 4 and the 5. That can run the floor. He's a Tute. It can't play, 40 minutes or 32 minutes a game, or whatever it's going to be. She can't be on the floor for the entire game, and that's kind of where, when Oregon got in trouble in a couple of games, and Kelly Graves readily admitted that, and especially one game where it was like Katie, Fiso, and Hisa Tute were just out of gas at the end of the game.
I think, to me, the thing about this team this year was that if you have your tallest player that's playing post or forward for a team and they're 6'4", that's already a little undersized. Yeah. Oregon was running Hisa Tute out there as their quote-unquote big, and she was 6 foot. So
that's why you can swing her to the 4.
That's what I'm saying. If you all of a sudden now have some height next to her, and you hope that it's Big K, who I'm going to...
you're already starting.
Amelia.
How you love nicknames.
If she can be the starter at center, which may be asking a little bit much because she's going to be a freshman, or maybe they go in the transfer portal and find.
That's somebody. What I'm saying. I think there are some gold mine players out there that Kelly Graves and his staff and Jody, and they are going to find somebody there that's going to make a difference.
I think, though, the thing that they did well where we are right now is that they've put themselves in a position where you want to get some out of the portal. And I'm sure they will get somebody out of the portal, maybe multiple players. But I don't think that they desperately need anything out of the portal. I think they're in a position where I'm not saying you're playing with house money quite, because you still want to build up the team, but I think you've already put the bones, the skeleton in place for this roster where you kind of know right now, like you're mentioning with these preseason polls for next year, that Oregon's
15.
Pretty good spot already. So if you can get another level here, if you can add some sort of dynamic to your team, it's just like softball where you got to be able to win all different types of games. And Oregon, I think last year, they were the cardiac kids, but I don't know if they were able to win all different types of games, if that makes sense. I think that they needed to be able to go out and run. They needed to be able to play great defense. And the teams that they couldn't stop, they couldn't really match them offensively. So I think if you add a couple more pieces here, I'm really liking the direction of this team, Danny. And I was saying that on Friday to Goose, but I'm really liking where this team is at right now.
Well, it's in the right trajectory, and the men can take a page out of that and see what they can do, because they are is devastated the right word? I mean, with Jackson Shellstad, Kwame Evans Jr., Devon Pryor, J.J. Frakes. Is it Frakes?
Frakes, I think.
Frakes.
I think devastated.
Desrick Lindsay. No, I mean, and the graduating, Nate Biddle. And I mean, you're literally going to turn almost your entire roster over.
Okay, but
with one.
If you were coming off of a great season, then maybe I'd say it's a devastation. In terms of the roster and who's left on it, you could say that it's barren now, obviously. But I think that in a lot of ways, they just need a fresh start.
Well, okay,
I think everybody involved, obviously they're going to keep Dane Altman around, but they needed a roster fresh start. And so I think there is potential opportunity to have a fresh start here.
I don't mind that viewpoint except for this. So if you would have been able to say, I can build a core, I can build around my core of Kwame, Jackson, and Devon, that would have been a pretty good start. Instead of having all, that's why I say it's you are now, Dana Altman, let's be real about this, because I think this is where the fan base is going. Next year is do or die. And I totally agree with Goose in terms of if you're not going to fund Dana Altman, then let him ride out the rest of his contract and reevaluate it then. I think he needs a GM. I'll go out and say it. I don't like to get in other people's business, the coaches or whatever, but with the day and age of what we have now in college athletics, you need to have somebody that's managing all the other stuff. And you can just concentrate on coaching up kids and doing the X's and O's things. That's why I called it devastating. I chose my words carefully. It's devastating because you literally have to. I don't know who's going to be on this team next year right now. I mean, it's a total. And in college basketball, to do an entire rebuild, ask Iowa State women's basketball. There are 11 players not coming back to that program that still have eligibility left.
Right.
You want to talk about turning over a roster. So something stinky over there as well, but that's not as bad here at Oregon. But this is where Dana Altman can shine. He can take these kids and mold them. If you get the commitment and the buy-in to what Dana wants to do, I think it can turn around. It can turn around in 1 year. That's the other piece of it. But you would like to have a baseline to start with.
I think I agree with what you're saying. I'm going to give you two. I'm going to call them counterpoints. Although I don't think I disagree with you. I think the thing about the guys you're mentioning bringing back, Jackson, KJ, and then Devon Pryor.
Yeah.
That core is the same core as this year, but worse. You just didn't basically not bring back mid-middle.
But you didn't have Jackson Shellstad for three-quarters of the year, and Pryor didn't see the floor for until the second half.
Circumstantially, that there were reasons why they never really all played together for an extended period of time.
I could build a team around KJ.
I think the other counterpoint to you, and I would definitely think KJ would be a guy that I'd love as my third scorer, that some nights he can be the guy, that other times, for most games, you don't need him.
Piece.
You get him for 10, 12 points, and that's what you really want him for, an energy guy, able to play good defense.
Grab a couple of rebounds,
You look at Michigan. Michigan, not last couple of years, but they were a team that not too long ago was not a powerhouse. And look how quickly they've turned things around. Illinois, another team where these teams have used the transfer portal so well, NIL, much better funded than Oregon, obviously.
There you go. That's the point I would make.
But that doesn't mean Dana Altman's been that guy that's had success with the transfer portal at times. I think it was something that was maybe at the time a little bit ahead of the curve, and then other teams have kind of caught up and maybe surpassed what Dana Altman's been able to do in the portal.
Yeah.
But I don't know. There's something about Dana Altman and bringing some guys together and piecing things together that I'm willing to bet one more time that he's going to be able to figure something out to where this team is going to be at least very solid next year. Will they be a national title contender? Are they going to make it to the Final Four? That is a huge stretch that I think that based off of what we see right now, that's asking a lot.
Coach,
but you just want to get to the tournament next year, right?
Well, I think you got to win at least a game or two in the tournament. If you can get to the Sweet 16 next year, that would be a huge win, and there's no way anybody with one more year remaining on Dana's contract guaranteed that you would say, okay, let's give them another go-around, especially if you've got a younger team, you got kids that will be coming back. But again, would they come back? Can they come back? Are they going to gel? There are so many unknowns and questions. However, in this day and age now, if again, and here's the key, if it gets funded, you can go out and put together a team if you go out and get the right pieces for it. And that's where I think the player evaluation, and I heard it today with Coach Maringer and with Coach Love, because at the O Club today, and we talked specifically about this. And Andrew Golish, I'm diverting to football, but I'm using Olish, okay, who Drew Maringer knows very well.
Yeah,
okay?
tight end.
Recruit him. Yeah, he recruited him. And I'm using this as an example to talk about basketball. Is that when you get a transfer player coming in, you don't know what bad habits they've accumulated before you get them. So he was talking about certain little things that they're helping, get worked out. And I'm not going to call them out here. I don't think that's appropriate. But there are things, there's not necessarily baggage, but there are habits that you might have formed under a different coach, under a different program, that doesn't necessarily work with what your new program is.
Well, you just look at Nick Marsh with Indiana with the gold cleats that Kurt Signetti was not
called out
about.
immediately.
Called out immediately.
Okay. So, but what I'm saying is that does anybody in this room or within the sound of my voice doubt that Dana Altman can't coach basketball?
No.
Okay. So, and there's no pause. There's no, well, maybe. No, game has not passed him by. So what I'm saying is you give him some good ingredients, that can be one of the quickest turnarounds in the history of Oregon sports. Can be this next year with the men's basketball team.
I agree. I think that there's one of the things that needs to be pointed out, though, in terms of, I think you can be a little bit optimistic. Basketball is one of those sports where you get one guy that is a big impact player, then all of a sudden your team looks completely different. And if
We've talked about this, the margin for error is much smaller for basketball on both sides.
you mean you look at Axel Lindenborg, for Michigan. That guy was playing for UAB last year. I mean, he wasn't like the superstar on Kentucky or something like that.
Right, he was not like highly sought after in the portal.
And part of the reason why that team's so good is because they have the depth of players. But my point is that I think that a guy like Dane Altman, I think he can recognize talent still. I don't have any doubt that he can look at a player. He's done this with all these mid-major schools and
get him off the phone with the agents and everybody else trying to negotiate these guys in. Let a GM handle that.
But I'm saying is that I know that he can identify talent at the level that isn't the high D1 level. So I have no doubt that there is at least a possibility that he could put together a roster that has some interesting pieces that can do some interesting things. I don't know if it's going to be a championship level team, but I certainly think it's possible.
Well, let's also, keep in mind that was it half? I think it was half. Was it half? Half the field in the Elite Eight, half the field in the Final Four, Big Ten teams. And those teams they're not graduating a whole ton of players. The Big Ten is going to be a gauntlet again next year. So that gives you opportunity. It gives you opportunity to get a high seed. And, you stay away from that 8-9 line. You get that 7 or 10 line or whatever. You get a better opportunity. And if you got a decent bracket, I think Michigan had the easiest road to the Final Four of anybody, and they proved it. I don't think they needed that lift. I think they're that good anyway. So
I think the thing for me, I've always felt about playing in a really good conference, and obviously the money part of it has become obviously the biggest factor, and players want to play for money. I also think there's something to be said, though, if you're a really great player, why wouldn't you want to go play in the Big Ten for somebody? It doesn't mean that you're going to necessarily want to go to a team like Oregon, but if you get to that conference, then you're going to be playing against the top talent. Maybe, I'm not saying Oregon's going to become like a stepping stone. You don't necessarily want to see that, but I think you're going to see players that want to play in the Big Ten, and Oregon is a part of the Big Ten. It's just like how I think you can maybe say, obviously the funding again is a big part of this, but Indiana has so benefited by the Big Ten becoming, in football, the biggest conference and maybe the best conference. Obviously, it's kind of debatable, but look at the results. So I just think that the rising tides carry all boats, or whatever the phrase is. So I think that the fact that the Big Ten is where it is, I think Oregon has to benefit out of that in some way.
Well, and again, it's going to be the performance on the floor.
Of course.
That's what it comes down to. And again, the margin for error, as long as you keep everybody healthy. There's so many ifs.
We don't know enough yet to judge what this offseason is going to be.
Portal opens up tomorrow. It's going to be very interesting to see who lands where. All right, when we come back, we will bring on Austin Meek, our good friend from The Athletic, based in Ann Arbor. He's going to be at a watch party tonight for Michigan-UConn men's basketball. We will discuss all things Wolverine and Huskies next with Austin Meek on the Danny and Justin radio program. We go till 4 o'clock today here on the Danny and Justin radio program for a Monday. Lots to go over, including heading on over to the Michigan beat, as we will have the NCAA National Championship game for the men as Michigan and UConn tip off 4 o'clock. Our coverage starts, I think, 4:10, 4:12. Whenever they get done paying all their bills, or part of them, they'll be right here with Kevin Kugler, Robbie Hummel, PJ Calersimo, and Andy Katz on the call for Westwood One. Let's head on over to the Oregon Man Clinics hotline. And we just so happen to know a guy who covers the Michigan beat for us out here. Well, not just for us, because he's also doing it, for a real job. It's the great Austin Meek, formerly of the Register Guard. Now, you're on the Athletic beat, right?
I am, yeah, and which means tonight I'm on the celebration beat. I'm going to be here in Ann Arbor. There's a watch party at Chrysler Arena for the game that I'm going to go to. Going to check out if there is a celebration to be had. We'll be out and about tonight to see what things are like in Ann Arbor. So it should be a fun night.
Well, even before the game, Austin, there's some celebration going on with the Michigan faithful as Dusty May went out and declared that he is not going to leave Ann Arbor. He says he doesn't want to keep talking, or he'll never ever respond to any job speculation. But it's got to be comforting to the Michigan fan base, because North Carolina definitely had Dusty as a target, that he says he's staying after leading this team to a 36-3 record going into tonight.
Yeah, in fact, just as we're talking, I've seen the news today that it sounds like North Carolina is zeroing in on Mike Malone as its next head coach was a little bit of a surprising hire, although they had certainly been looking in the NBA circles. Billy Donovan's name had been at the top of the list. And I think, as you say, Michigan fans, it was a big sigh of relief when it came out that Dusty May was not under consideration in that search, had taken his name out of consideration. I don't sense that a lot of Michigan fans were, laying awake at night worrying, oh gosh, is Dusty May going to leave to go to North Carolina?
Sure.
I think the thing that would keep Michigan fans up at night maybe is wondering at some point, does Dusty May want to become an NBA head coach? Certainly think he has all the ability and the right personality to be able to succeed at the NBA level. Maybe someday. But I think right now it seems like Dusty May is happy at Michigan, and Michigan fans are certainly very happy with Dusty May.
Austin Meek joining us on the Oregon Man Clinics hotline as we get ready for Michigan and Connecticut, UConn in the championship game. And by the way, May's deal in Ann Arbor runs through 2030, a $7 million buyout. Sweet 16 last year, and top-seeded Michigan is in the championship game. And Big Ten regular season title, 29 wins by double digits. Some of these numbers just jump off the paper at you. And I guess the question I would ask, as we do in football, is this roster assembly able to be done in anything outside of the era we're in now, where you can invest? And Michigan's obviously invested in their basketball program.
Well, this team certainly is a product of its era. It's a product of the transfer portal. It's a product of NIL. I don't think anybody would deny that. Dusty May certainly would not deny that. I think the reality is that Michigan has done as good a job as anybody, and this year probably a better job than anybody else at excelling within the system that currently exists. Right now, the name of the game is to evaluate players who might be entering the transfer portal, to look at players who maybe had a particular role in another program, and you think, if we could get this guy in our program, we have a role for him where he could really take off. And that's the thing that has made this Michigan team so successful. They found Adai Mara at UCLA, who was not playing a lot of minutes, coming off the bench, and said, if we put him in our system, he could be one of the best big men in the country, which he has been. Elliot Cadeau had a really up and down season last year at North Carolina. Was viewed in some ways as a bust there. He comes to Michigan, has really reinvigorated his career. Morris Johnson, was a role player at Illinois, has become a starter at Michigan. And then you put Yaxel Lindeborg in the middle of that team, and you've got one of the best college basketball teams that I have ever seen up close. I mean, this Michigan team is just a machine.
And speaking of Yaxel Lindeborg, of course, he suffered that injury in that last game against Arizona, and it sounds like he's going to play. It sounds like he's not going to be fully healthy. How do you think this team is going to be able to respond? Like, do you think they have enough outside of him to be able to overcome that loss? He's not a loss, I guess, necessarily, but he's not going to be necessarily 100%.
Yeah, he's not going to be 100%. If you watched him after he came back in the second half after that injury, he definitely was not anywhere close to full speed. Now we'll see what he's been able to do in a couple days of treatment. I'm sure he'll have some painkillers going that allow him to move around a little bit in addition to all the adrenaline I'm sure he's going to have, but he's not going to be 100%. But I think that Michigan certainly has the ability to overcome that. One of the things that has made this team so successful is their depth. They played 9 guys for a lot of this season, which is more than a lot of teams want to play. Most coaches will have a 7-8 man rotation, but Michigan felt like they had 9 guys who deserved to play, and they all shared the minutes. And they've really needed that depth as the season went on. LJ Kaysen, who was maybe their best scorer off the bench, went down with a knee injury late in the regular season. They've been able to withstand that. And if Yaxel Lindeborg is limited tonight, if he can't play, his normal minutes or at his normal level, I still think they have the firepower to win this game just because this is such a deep team and they have so many weapons.
And, of course, against Arizona, it was just a domination, really, from pretty much the beginning of the game. And this UConn team, they're good, but how would you compare them to Arizona? It almost felt like that Arizona-Michigan game maybe was sort of the best two teams left in the tournament. But I'm curious to your thoughts on the comparison between Arizona and UConn.
Yeah, it certainly did feel that way. I think a lot of people felt like Michigan-Arizona was the de facto title game. And it's always a little bit risky to think like that because if Michigan is thinking like that, and I'm sure they're not, that's a recipe to get upset, right?
Right.
I'm sure from Michigan's perspective, they are not thinking that they won the title on Saturday. They're thinking that this UConn team has been basically unbeatable in this tournament. If you look back at UConn's record in the NCAA tournament over the last 4 years, pretty incredible. So this UConn team is tough to kill, and you can just ask Duke that. Duke had them dead to rights. It looked like that game was over. They come back and win. So on paper, certainly Arizona was a more dominant team over the course of the season, but UConn has shown that they're a tough out. They've kind of got that devil magic, Yeah. And I think they're going to give Michigan everything they can handle tonight.
You can follow him on Twitter at @AustinMeek. He joins us, the staff writer covering Michigan for The Athletic. He was also out here in Eugene, and we go all the way back to when he was in Kansas and covering K-State, and he was on my show back then. Austin Meek joins us here on the Danny and Justin radio program. We talked about the middle, and obviously for UConn, it's going to be making sure Terrace Reed Jr. doesn't get into foul trouble. That's one thing for the Huskies. But the other thing is, and this might be the only concern Michigan might have, is there's a trio of perimeter players that UConn has. Alex Karabin, Braylon Mullins, who's made his name in this tournament, and then Solo Ball. I mean, they're hard to chase down. They can shoot from wherever on the floor. And so I guess my question is, how does Michigan navigate that and circumvent that?
Yeah, I do think it's going to be a good test for Michigan's backcourt. UConn to me looks like a team that's really physical in the backcourt. Defensively, I think UConn's going to get after Michigan's guards a little bit. Michigan's not the biggest or the most physical team in the backcourt. Elliot Cadeau, he's really fast with the ball in his hands, and he is physical for his size. He's just not the biggest point guard. Namari Burnett, who starts on the wing, is a good spot-up shooter, but maybe not the most physical guy on the floor. So I do think UConn might be able to get after Michigan a little bit, but UConn's just been so inconsistent shooting the ball. To me, that's the question: is what UConn team are we going to get tonight from behind the three-point line? If they come out and knock down their threes, I think they're more than capable of winning this game. But that's been a part of their game that has just been very hit and miss this season. They've had some rough shooting nights. The other interesting angle here, and you mentioned it, Terrace Reed. Terrace Reed was a starter on that Michigan team a couple years ago that went 8-24, just an absolutely abysmal season for Michigan that I unfortunately watched quite a bit of, probably more than I wanted to. So to see Terrace Reed playing for a different team in the national championship game against Michigan, against some of his teammates from that team from a couple of years ago, that's pretty wild.
It very much is so. We talked about a little bit the way that the backcourt will be tested, and Michigan did lose. They lost 3 games. In fact, I think they were behind Oregon at halftime, which is just crazy to me early on in the season. But, that doesn't matter because that was a big win for Michigan anyway. But in the 3 losses, there was an interesting stat that I found. There was at least one player on the opposing team who had 6 or more assists. And those teams had a 64% assist rate in the losses. And nobody's done that against Michigan in the NCAA tournament. And the example, in the semifinal game, Arizona only had 5 total assists. So I would say, would it be fair that we want to be looking at that assist line as well as the stats roll through?
Yeah, I think that's an astute observation. The teams that beat Michigan this year, Wisconsin beat Michigan in a game where Wisconsin went crazy from 3-point range, and also Nick Boyd, guard for Wisconsin, was able to penetrate and dish, and Michigan had trouble staying in front of him. Michigan lost to Duke in Washington, D.C. in a close game that came down to the wire. I mean, it was a heavyweight fight, and Michigan, I think, just didn't play their best that night. They had kind of a tough shooting night. And then Michigan lost to Purdue in the Big Ten championship game, and, of course, Braden Smith, all-time assist leader. Most teams that play Purdue are going to give up some assists to him. And that was a game I think Michigan had already won the Big Ten regular season, and they were focused, I think, on just getting into the NCAA tournament and doing what they've done the last couple weeks in the tournament. So I do think that, if UConn is able to get into the flow offensively, that'll be a factor. And I think teams that can knock down threes have been, the matchup that's been challenging for Michigan, partly because Adai-Mara is such a force around the basket. And if teams have been able to get him away from the basket, sometimes they've been able to have some success with that. But like I said before, UConn's outside shooting has been so inconsistent that it's hard to know what you're going to get from them from 3-point range.
So Michigan men's basketball last won a title in 1989. The last Big Ten team to win an NCAA title was in 2000, Michigan State.
Right.
You are in Ann Arbor right now for the potential celebration. So what is the tenor right now? Is there a level of confidence? I think this is a team that I think Michigan fans feel really good about, but it hasn't happened for a long time. There's been a lot of really good Michigan teams that haven't been able to get it done. So what's the feeling right now?
I think it's a mix of confidence and like you say, some apprehension and some memories of Michigan teams that got really close but could not cut down the nets. John Beilein had two really good Michigan teams that played for national championships and lost in the national title game. The Fab Five never won a national championship. Some really good teams and good players that have come through Ann Arbor, but did not get to celebrate a national championship, which really has been the story for the Big Ten, like you're saying, since Michigan State in 2000. It's been some really good Big Ten teams. You think back to that Purdue team that lost to UConn. Michigan State has had some really good teams. Wisconsin has had some really good teams. Big Ten has not been able to win a national championship in men's basketball in 26 years. So as confident as people feel that this is going to be the year Michigan is going to get it done, I think there are still some fans who are going to have the butterflies until the last second comes off the clock, as they should, given what happened with UConn and Duke.
Yeah, so Austin, a couple of last questions for you, and we're going to switch gears. And by the way, this would be an incredible trifecta for the Big Ten: championship in college football, championship in women's basketball already in the and then you add men's basketball to that. What's going on down in the South, man? What's going on with the SEC?
I think
there's another conference down there or something like that. I want to switch to football. So, have you been able to have any kind of impression about Kyle Whittingham and what he might bring to Big Blue?
Just some preliminary ones. Just spending a little bit of time around him since he's gotten here. He is probably the most energetic 66-year-old guy I think I've ever been around. I mean, he has the energy of somebody who's about 2 decades younger. He seems incredibly motivated by the way things ended for him at Utah. I mean, look, Utah basically decided that they were ready to move on. They were ready to be done with him. And I think he took that personally. And he's out to prove at Michigan that he's still got more in the tank. And certainly seems that way so far. He's brought, first of all, I think just a sense of calm and a sense of having somebody in charge of the program who is as competent as it comes as a college football coach. Right, he's been doing this for so long, and from where Michigan was a few months ago, and just the total disarray of how Sharon Moore's tenure ended, just to have somebody come in with a steady hand on the wheel has been really, I think, really comforting for a lot of people. So overall, I think the first impressions on Kyle Whittingham have been really good. But he's also, it's a tough league. As we saw, Big Ten, right now it goes through Indiana. Ohio State's going to be one of the best and most talented teams in the country every single season. So it's going to be a challenge for Kyle Whittingham to get Michigan on that level.
Yeah, and I remember when you and Steve and I had our last conversation, and it was in the wake of the Sharon Moore, the ungracious exit, that we kind of threw out Kyle's name, and it was like, too old. But how are the fans reacting to him? You talked a little bit about the program itself, but this is a guy from outside Michigan circle that's coming in, leading the flagship of the university for the most part. Well, they hope basketball starts to take over a little bit in that, but you know where I'm getting here. So I mean, how have the fans been reacting to this?
I think it maybe took him a beat to really warm up to it. He was not the name on the top of everybody's list when the job came open.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the speculation from fans was focused on, can we get Kalen DeBoer from Alabama? Can we get Kenny Dillingham from Arizona State? When neither of those things happened, I think fans were starting to feel a little bit antsy, like, are we going to be able to get somebody who is, on par with what we think this job is, one of the best, top 5 job in college football? And I think pretty quickly fans came around to the idea that, hey, Kyle Whittingham, no, he's not the hot, young, up-and-coming coach that we think is going to be here for 2 decades, but he's won a lot of games. He was really successful at Utah, the program that doesn't have the same resources that Michigan has. You put him here with Michigan's roster and Michigan's NIL, he ought to be able to be really successful. But I think Michigan fans just, they want a reason to believe that this is going to work, and that all of the stuff that happened at the end of Sharon Moore's tenure was just kind of a blip on the radar, and Michigan is going to be back to competing for Big Ten championships again. I think Kyle Whittingham has given them a lot of reasons to believe that could happen.
All right, well, Austin, have fun surrounding yourself with the fans tonight, and I'll just give you one bit of advice. Go for the high ground. If you can get above, that's where you want to be, okay?
I'm going to be above the fray. I'm going to try to avoid the stampede, but I'm probably going to be right in the middle of it. So, pray for me. I hope I make it out.
We will. We'll send it your way.
Will.
Thanks, Austin. We appreciate you, bud.
All right. See you guys.
There he goes, the great Austin Meek, covering Michigan basketball, Michigan football. Does it very well. And, yes, you know that name because he used to be out here covering the Ducks and also covered K-State very well back in the day. He's been around for a half second. All right, Justin, I'll be back. Again, we're up till 4 o'clock, and then the Westwood One coverage of the NCAA championship game, Michigan and UConn. The Danny and Justin radio program rolls on Fox Sports Eugene, Fox Sports Newport. Oregon State football is going to attempt to resemble a regular football game for their spring game, according to head coach Jamarcus Shepard. I know that's like a setup to a line that I could use, but I'm not going to with the rough season the Beavs had last year. Coach Shepard is deciding between 2 different formats for the April 25th inter-squad scrimmage. Spring games have traditionally fluctuated between the inter-squad scrimmage without contact to glorified fan fests featuring very little, if actually, any football play. Did you already have were you already at for the Dan Lanning?
It was not Dan Lanning.
Who was it? Drew Americus?
It was
Rashad Samples?
Samples, and it was Dier.
So you didn't get to ask?
I didn't get to ask. I did not get to ask.
All right. I wanted to find out what Oregon's going to do. Oregon State, by the way, is added to its offensive line. Former Auburn offensive lineman Broderick Scholl, who did not play while redshirting this last season, was added to OSU's roster. It's the second addition in the spring. Receiver from Colorado State, Ross Nixon III, also signed with Jamarcus Shepard's beeves, the new look beeves. Oh, we gotta give something away, right? Hey, let's do this. We got something to give away from Coquel Casino. It's the greatest week in golf, friends. Hello. Welcome to Augusta. The rolling hills, the pine straw, and the greatest golf tournament ever invented, the Masters. And watching it at Coquel Casino and Resort, he entered online, and his name was drawn out of the hat. Jim Olson from here in the Valley. Jim Olson is heading not to Augusta, but to Coos Bay, North Bend.
Pretty good.
For Coquel Casino and Resorts giveaway. Nice suite up there. He's going to get all the food and non-alcoholic beverage he and his friends can handle and watch the finish of the Masters. It's a great golf tournament. You ever been to Augusta? Anybody? Bueller? No?
I've never been to Augusta.
Okay. One thing, I have been fortunate to witness what you're seeing on television. You cannot imagine how hilly that course is. Like, TV does not do it justice. It is like deep peaks and valleys on the fairways. It's amazing. So I know
It's
you're
on
blanking.
The sports bucket list, probably.
Oh, it is. If you're a golfer, absolutely, especially. All right. So congratulations, Jim. We'll have more stuff to give away, I'm sure. We're going to do Big Bet Start again on Friday, by the way. Since we're running the promo, we better do something.
Return of Big Bets.
So we're going to do baseball for Big Bets?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we're going to have to. I think we're going to have to. Not a lot of basketball left.
Later on this week on the program, we'll have the mayor of Rip City, Travis Demers. We'll have Coach Wasikowski on the program, Melissa Lombardi as well. I think Melissa will be tomorrow from Oregon softball. So plenty to discuss.
Good week ahead.
Yeah.
I think the question would be, do we do college? Do we do professional?
For baseball, for Big Bets?
For Big Bets?
I think people would probably gravitate more towards the pro games, than the college games.
Probably.
I mean, does anybody really know
Talking out loud
what
here.
Auburn and Alabama? Yeah, we probably should have a meeting on this. Auburn and Alabama baseball, how well they are.
I mean, there's NBA playoffs as well.
Oh, we'll
That's
probably
true.
throw some.
Well, yeah.
As long as they're close, in terms of the point spread, I agree. Producer
and they
Blaze.
will be, especially after the first round's it's got to be in a week and a half.
It's in a week and a half. It starts like April 15th.
Yeah, so pretty quickly here, we're going to be getting the first round of the NBA playoffs. Usually not necessarily
No, we do the play-in games if it falls on the right day.
I think very possible.
So and the Blazers are still fighting. They're technically tied in the record, but LA Clippers have the tiebreaker. So that game coming up, I think it's Friday against the Clips, is the one that will basically decide Portland's fate between being the 8 seed or the 9 seed. Huge advantage if you're the 8 seed. Massive advantage.
And it's interesting. I know we want to get to some other baseball stuff, but
well,
Denver, San Antonio, LA, that's the Friday, you're right, 7 p.m. here on Fox Sports Eugene. But that's tough. They get Sacramento at the end of the season, so I think Sacramento's probably going to be trying to lose that game because they're the number one.
Well, and they got do they have Denver again? Who?
Denver, San Antonio, LA.
Right.
That's this week. So Monday, they have Denver today.
I'm hoping, since everyone else is pretty much locked in their positions, I'm kind of hoping that Denver or San Antonio are going to rest a couple of players.
Although I don't think that San Antonio will rest Wembanyama because I think that he's fighting for, and correct me on this, Blaze, he's fighting to get those 65 games to be eligible for awards.
Yeah, he's
going to have to play.
So what do you think about Luka getting... So he took 2 games off. He's going to miss it by a game because he's shut down for the rest of the regular season. He missed 2 games because of a child being born, but he also missed a game because he had so many technicals that he was suspended for a game.
Well, that's his fault. But I also think that clearly this rule, I don't think it's working.
You can appeal.
65 games.
You can appeal to
like
it though. So with the kid thing, he could appeal and say, I missed 2 because I had a kid being born. I wanted.
Well,
to be
if there's a
good
precedent
dad
for it, then I guess that would be all right. If they've waived it before, then that'd be fine. So listen, I know you want to get to the baseball thing, but I mean, wouldn't you say it's the same thing about only being eligible for records or awards if you hit a minimum amount of games played or a minimum number at bats?
I think it's one of those things that in theory it totally makes sense because you sit there and go, well, yeah, you probably should be playing 65 games. But then you get to this point in the season and you have guys that it's like they're like within one game. And it just feels really weird to me that like that one game is the difference between, they're eligible or they're not eligible at all.
Okay, but with a lot of these contracts, though, they're incentive-laden as well for players. If you
win, want to get those All-NBAs, yes, absolutely.
That could be $150,000, $200,000, $300,000 to somebody.
And for a team, they're definitely not going to want that because then they're eligible for a lot more money if they're an All-NBA guy. So like Jalen Duren, for example, he might be an All-NBA guy, and all of a sudden now the spunky Detroit Pistons, who have a lot of cap space, are going to have to pay Jalen Duren a lot of money. So it's the kind of thing that can ruin a franchise if you're not careful.
Interesting
Well,
point.
they have to pay Cade Cunningham less money now because of his lung, though.
Right.
So he won't make that.
Because he's not going to make All-NBA.
Yeah, so
and he was a guy that
it'll even out with that.
But it's, I don't know. I don't like how, I don't love the way the CBA is worked out. Yeah, I want to get to Joe Adele.
Yeah, he wants to get to Joe Adele. Okay, so you have some issues with some of the
discussion,
the discussion that's surrounding what should be a celebratory
Go ahead. Moments, really, because he robbed 3 home runs spectacularly against the Seattle Mariners. I think that was on Sunday. And the conversation, because he was many of these catches jumping and catching the ball and then landing over the fence, people were saying, well, why isn't that a home run? He didn't get his feet in bounds before he caught it. And a lot of these people are football fans, and they're trying to equate it to the rules in football. Like, well, you got to get your feet in bounds in the rule of play.
No.
This doesn't work in baseball. First of all, the rule in play is the foul lines. So all of a sudden, any foul ball, if you're going to legislate it, well, you have to get your feet in play. You're not going to be able to catch any ball that's a foul ball at that point. So that doesn't work. And why are we trying to copy a sport where we can't decide what a catch is in the NFL? It's been years and years. You have the Calvin Johnson rule, and you have all these times where someone, quote-unquote, caught it, quote-unquote, caught it against the Packers. Well, why does it matter? I think in baseball it's so clean because if you're catching it before it touches anything that's out of play, whether that's foul or over the fence, it's an out.
Well,
it's
but
really
I mean, isn't
simple.
this more media and fan debate than the MLB powers that be are looking at this?
But it's still ridiculous.
It's a big nothing burger.
It's a nothing burger, but I wanted to complain about it.
Well,
I want to complain about people that are trying to make what's not broken, broken.
And I'm just going to tell you, our dear listeners out there, that if you also want to complain like this, then you can get your own radio show, and then you can do it yourself.
Exactly. I can talk about the things I want to talk about. That's what's great about this.
All right, tomorrow on the program, Melissa Lombardi's going to join us. We'll talk Oregon softball after another nice weekend, and with the Ducks on a little bit of a homestand now, so you get another opportunity to go see them out at the Jane. But let's wind up the show. Let's do our dad joke.
Oh, a joke!
I got fired from the bank today. A woman asked me to check her balance, so I pushed her.
Dad jokes!
This kind of falls in the line with what we were just talking about a little bit here. Here we go. Why would doors do well on social media? Why would doors do so well on social media? Well, because everyone looks for their handles.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a little flat.
I can see it.
You know what? That had more possibility in my head than it actually in the execution.
It's all the delivery.
Oh, so you're saying it's my fault? No,
I didn't say that.
Well,
but I said it's all in the delivery.
You've
said that many times. I'm just repeating what you've said to me.
Okay, that's true.
It wasn't a criticism.
Listen, they're not all going to be diamonds. They're not all going to be home runs. Sometimes it's a single. Sometimes it's a foul ball.
Sometimes you reach on an error.
And sometimes you get on base, and that's all that matters. Just getting on base. All right, kids. Thanks. Good job, Blaze. Good job, Baby J. And thanks for listening. Friends, God bless. Be well. Put a smile on your face someone else's. They deserve it, so do you. If you have a chance, go out and buy a new pair of boots. If you have an opportunity to do it, I recommend it.
Enjoy the national championship game.
Okay, who do you think?
Michigan.
Are we all Michigan? Michigan by
1 million.
15.
A wide disparity there between 15 and 1 million. I think we're all on the Michigan bandwagon, so bring it home for the Big Ten. We'll talk again tomorrow at 2 p.m. right here on Fox Sports Eugene, Fox Sports Newport. Peace.